In this video, I'm thinking I'm going to look closer at time and the relationship between it and Timewave 0 with this integral spin. Now, I was arguing or presenting the notion in the last video that these different centers have arguably different energies associated with them, and this is long held in Eastern traditions primarily. And there's a reflection with the West in evolution itself, in that these centers sort of represent the primary focus of the evolutionary period in which they developed. Not to say that there weren't physiological extensions that were, in a sense, a higher system. Just like we have the head, we have the throat. Now, I'm not saying my theory is suggesting that these aren't our primary focuses as beings, but we do have access to them because we've gone through the cycle enough that these have developed in fairly concrete and sophisticated ways. And as we go through the cycles more, these systems will get more and more advanced. They'll get more and more complex. The layering will be deeper, and they will be more proper or authentic expressions of what they represent. But this whole system has been sort of the solar plexus, the sun, the place of the core from which movement and integrity comes, more or less. So as this primary energy comes to an end, and we get the very end of this energy in some sense, it's because the primary focus is in 3, but at the end you would be experiencing a heavy weight of 6. You get to understand how this mental representation creates this pattern more and more. It gets the spiral is tightening, and so the clarity of how and why this all came about is made clear. Once this pattern ends, then we drop back down in a fairly real way to the root. And the reason is to sort of reintegrate. But in doing that, I'm saying we're moving up to the heart as a primary focus. Now again, these might sound very loose as statements or claims, but you have to go into my other videos to see exactly why I think these patterns are legitimate. So in relation to time, I've been experiencing personally some of these things that suggest to me what might be going on. One was last Saturday, in which I was walking about, and suddenly I felt this very intense energy, very foreign, and I went and laid down. Now, because this is a fairly personal story, that is the upper left, the correlates aren't that strong, although I have had a few suggestive interpersonal relations that suggested this was also going on. It's one of the other correlates I've been using to try to make it stronger cases, but really it's not all that strong, just being honest. But I'm going to explain the story and then see in yourself if you think there's something potentially to it. So I went to bed, and this was just after I had looked at a photo that one of my friends posted. It was Beastie Boys with an octopus in the background. Somebody made a comment of Cthulhu, which is sort of supposed, I mean, there's the mythology behind him being sort of an evil demon. Whatever you make of it, this could all be very plausibly just the myth of the given, sort of, where we create our own worlds to some extent, no doubt, and so there could be some sort of morphogenetic things going on if, for example, my friends did have similar experiences in relation to this, and that's something to be held for sure in mind. It still doesn't diminish it if that's the case. It makes it much more a psychic event than in interesting ways. Anyway, so that felt sense experience took place, and then I got these sort of, they weren't strong flashes of visions, but it was like a weird waking state vision where I was out in space and there's this demon thing out there, and there was a number of others with me, I think, and we were trying to go into the being to show it what it was doing was stealing its own purpose, because what it was doing seemingly was stealing other people's, eating people, and in doing that, but deeper than that, it was stealing their sort of drive, intentionally. It's hard to kind of explain, put into context, but this is a fairly advanced being, and it didn't need to do this, but it was doing it anyway, and it was doing it at an epic scale. It was massive amounts of beings. It was taking in and not allowing any out. It was just intake, no output. That was the pathology that was noted. What we were trying to do was go into this being and feel into it to show how it was stealing its own purpose by doing this. It was the coldness of itself was a lack of purpose, and that if we could go in there and enlighten it, and enliven the being, then it would show that the purpose can be regained, and that would be good for all, including it, to do that. But every way we went, it wasn't going to happen. It was the analogy that came to me after. It felt like twisting rock. Like every time you go or try to go in, it just twists you back out. And what it was doing is it was stealing our purpose in trying to do this too. So at one point it seemed like we joined together and became a bigger being of some sort. And then we ate it. Now this was not ideal. Certainly not. Actually, it was a question of whether or not we wanted to be sucked into it, and potentially in that process enliven the being.